Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Matty T here, and today we are talking about Pikachu EX. Pikachu EX is the best deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket. The data shows it, and if you don't believe me, it is the most played deck in all the online tournaments, and it has the best win rate across all of the decks, and at the top of the Pokemon TCG Pocket meta. But today we're going to be taking a look at all of the different ways that people are choosing to play Pikachu EX. We're going to go through the advantages and disadvantages of all of them, and I'm going to tell you what I believe is the best way to play Pikachu EX. So the first deck we're going to take a look at, which is actually the most common version of Pikachu EX, and that is with Zebstrika. Now, all Pikachu EX decks are going to run 2 copies of Pikachu EX and Zapdos EX. That is the bread and butter of the deck, and it is by far the most important cards in the deck. Both very strong cards. Zapdos is a bit of a high roller card, but has the potential to do 200 damage for 3 energies, and Pikachu is the most consistent attacker in Pokemon TCG Pocket, being able to do 90 damage for 2 energies on a basic EX Pokemon. Very, very good cards in general. However, Pikachu is reliant on having your bench full of electric type Pokemon, so you're going to be running more than just the 2 Pikachu and 2 Zapdos. So a lot of people are electing to use 2 Zebstrika, the 2-2 Blitzio Zebstrika line, and Zebstrika is a pretty cool card. For 1 lightning energy, it allows you to do 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. You can also attack the active Pokemon as well, but primarily this is going to be used to, do kind of that chip snipe damage to your opponent's benched Pokemon, finishing up KOs that you weren't able to finish up with Pikachu EX or Zapdos EX. Now, Zebstrika is interesting. Now, I'm going to be kind of categorizing all of these decks based on how they perform in 2 different matchups. The first one is being against Mewtwo EX. Now, Mewtwo EX is the second most played deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket. In fact, a lot of people do believe it's the best deck in the game, but yeah, so it's basically, how good are these Pikachu decks against Mewtwo? And then the other factor is how good are they against the mirror matchup against other Pikachu EX decks. So Zebstrika is an interesting one. I think that it's pretty decent in some niche scenarios, but it's just that it's kind of a niche pick. It is very efficient, only 1 energy to use that attack on Zebstrika, but here's the thing, I don't believe Zebstrika is particularly good in the Mewtwo matchup. You may disagree with me, and comment below if anything I say in this video is something that you disagree with. I would love to hear your opinions down in the comment section below, but the thing with Zebstrika in the Mewtwo matchup is that if you're playing Pikachu and you're going against a Mewtwo deck, you're going to want to play as fast-paced and aggro as you possibly can. The thing with Mewtwo is if it gets fully set up, there's really nothing you can do because it's just going to one-hit KO whatever you have in the active spot turn after turn until you lose the game. And Mewtwo has 150 HP, so it's not like you're going to be sitting there whittling down a Mewtwo EX on the bench with Zebstrika. That's certainly not a good strategy. You're going to take 20 turns before you win the game, and Mewtwo EX also runs multiple copies of Mewtwo, right? So you could easily just bench a second Mewtwo and get it set up. Basically, you want to take your prize cards or get your KOs and take your 3 points before your opponent is able to set up Gardevoir. Zebstrika can be good to KO a Ralts on the bench if somehow your opponent doesn't find a Kirlia in 3 or 4 turns, but that's very unlikely to happen. The other thing with Zebstrika is that the math doesn't necessarily work out very well in Pikachu EX. Pikachu is going to do 90 damage, 100 with Giovanni to your opponent's active Mewtwo EX, and Zebstrika doing 30 plus the 90 plus or 100. It doesn't add up to any sort of tangible KO number against a Mewtwo EX. And overall, you're going to want to be doing the most damage possible every turn to ensure that you're winning that game before Mewtwo gets fully set up. So I don't believe it's very good in the Mewtwo matchup. And lastly, in the mirror matchup, it can be good against opposing Pikachus, right? So if you hit your opponent's active Pikachu EX for 90 damage, Pikachu has 120, so 90 plus 30 is 120. However, all of these Pikachu decks are running potions, so you're kind of just hoping that they don't draw into a potion and then use it on their Pikachu, or else, tough luck. Even if they do that, you're just going to get KO'd because you have 90 HP on your Zebstrika. So, it's really not very advantageous to be doing that anyway. In the mirror matchup, if you have a Zebstrika in the active spot, it's just going to get one-hit KO'd by a Pikachu. So I really don't even think Zebstrika is that good in the mirror matchup as well. And sure, it could be good in other matchups like Articuno or Charizard or any other sort of rogue deck that you might be playing against. But the thing is, Pikachu has an actual, all Pikachu decks have a good matchup against Articuno and Charizard. So I'm not really categorizing those matchups at all to kind of weight the different Pikachu decks, because you're going to have a good matchup against Charizard and Articuno anyway. So yeah, Zebstrika, it's fun, it's pretty cool, definitely really good in niche scenarios, but overall I just don't think it has enough upside in the 2 most common matchups that you're going to be facing. Next up, let's let's take a look at Electrode. So again, Pikachu EX needs as many Pokemon on its bench as possible, and they have to be electric type Pokemon. So there's really kind of limited options. Electrode is the other sort of more common option that people are running in this deck. Electrode's cool. It only has 80 HP for a stage 1 Pokemon, which is quite bad, but for 2 energies you do 70 damage, and that is a decent attack. It does allow you to extend a little bit for those KOs, right? 90 on the Pikachu plus 70 with the Electrode is 160. That should put you in range of KOing a Mewtwo EX. However, keep in mind Mewtwo does also run potions, so if they do draw into that potion, you're kind of just out of luck, and your Electrode's going to get absolutely destroyed in the active spot. So you're better off just kind of hoping for a 2-hit KO with your Pikachu EX. It's much more consistent in the long run. And again, I don't even know necessarily how that 70 damage with the plus 20 that you would get from the type advantage against, any Pokemon that would be weak to electric in the active spot. I don't know what you're really KOing for 90 damage anyway. So Electrode is interesting. It does have free retreat, and again, it does have a 2 energy attack cost, whereas like Zapdos EX as a secondary attacker requires 3 energies to potentially get a KO with its Thundering Hurricane attack. That's sort of the thing with Electrode, right? You might be thinking like, oh, it's a good card. It's not necessarily bad to any degree. The free retreat is nice. It kind of allows you to be protected a little bit if from an early Sabrina. Helps you maybe not lose out on a turn by having you attach to the active, or maybe not having X speed in your hand, but you're going to be running 2 X speed anyway, so the free retreat isn't actually that big of a deal. And yeah, like I said, in the Mewtwo matchup, Electrode's just really not doing anything for you whatsoever. I'm not entirely sure. Comment below if there's anything that I might be missing in that particular matchup. But yeah, Electrode in Mewtwo isn't particularly useful in my opinion. In the mirror matchup, it can be pretty nice, but again, in the mirror matchup, again, it kind of just comes down to who draws the best anyway. These decks aren't necessarily going to be, that much advantageous in the mirror matchup, no matter what. But yeah, Electrode, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but again, I don't necessarily know what the overall tangible upside is to running Electrode in your deck, if I'm being 100% honest. But let's take a look at the third option. I've left this for last because in my opinion, I do think that this is the best way to play Pikachu EX, and that is with Raichu. Now, if you don't know what Raichu is, or what it does, it is a not an EX Pokemon. It's just a basic sort of single prize Pokemon. Stage 1 has 100 HP, and for 3 lightning energy, it does 140 damage. However, after you attack, you discard all energy for this Pokemon. So it does seem sort of like an all or nothing card. But here's the thing: in most of the important matchups that Pikachu likes to go against, it wants to have fast pace, right? You want to play that aggro fast pace play style. Against Mewtwo, very important, and against the mirror matchup, it's very important as well to kind of have better pace than your opponent. What Raichu does is it doesn't sacrifice really anything from the deck. The main kind of bread and butter that you're going to be using in this matchup, or in this deck in general, is going to be the Pikachus and the Zapdoses, so you kind of want a third option that's going to allow you to win games as many different ways as possible, and the 140 damage from the Raichu, in my opinion, is by far the best way to do that. In the Mewtwo matchup, best extender, sort of last-minute KO option that you could possibly have in your deck. The math just sort of works out, whether you're doing 30 damage Thundershock with Pincurchin, or you're doing 20 damage with a Peck from Zapdos, or 90 damage, or 60 or 90 damage, whatever you might be doing with your Pikachu EX. No matter what, if you're not getting a KO on in one turn with any of those attackers, you're going to be finishing up a KO with Raichu with that 140 damage. It's also really, really good in the mirror matchup because, again, it one-hit KOs Pikachu, it one-hit KOs Zapdos with that 140 damage. So overall, very, very strong. I think that it's by far the best card in the Pikachu versus Pikachu matchup, but I also think it probably has the most upside in the Mewtwo matchup as well. Allows you to one-hit KO a Gardevoir on the bench, allows you to one-hit KO the sort of small single prize Mewtwo that they run in Mewtwo decks, which can be really annoying and kind of cost you a turn or two in that matchup if you're playing Pikachu against Mewtwo. The only downside I think that people think about with Raichu in Pikachu is that you have to run Lieutenant Surge, or you're probably going to run Lieutenant Surge in your deck, and that's because Lieutenant Surge allows you to move all of your lightning energies from your bench Pokemon to your Raichu, and this is very good, of course, because Raichu has a high energy attack cost like Zapdos. However, you're able to accelerate those energies directly to that Raichu in one turn and just basically, set it up and attack all in kind of one fell swoop, which is very, very strong. People think that you're sacrificing maybe a lot of consistency by running Raichu and Lieutenant Surge, but you got to think that this deck anyway is going to be running, you know, potions or Giovanni's in their deck, and those are cards that are pretty niche anyway. This deck doesn't necessarily need Giovanni too much. It may sound good, the 140 damage plus one-hit KOing a Mewtwo EX, and that does come up sometimes. You do have the option, if you're playing against a Mewtwo EX, to go ahead and just manually attach to your Pikachu and then your Raichu until you have enough energies, and then yeah, you can just pop your Giovanni and get that one-hit KO on Mewtwo. I mean, that is a totally viable strategy in that deck, and it certainly is going to it's certainly going to come up as something that's going to win you games sometimes. But yeah, I mean, sacrificing one potion from your deck or one Giovanni isn't really a big deal from a consistency standpoint. Lieutenant Surge has way more upside than any kind of upside you might be losing by cutting like one potion from your deck. So yeah, I definitely think that Raichu is the strongest card to pair up in Pikachu EX, and in my opinion, I think it's just the best way to play Pikachu. I think that it has the best matchup against Mewtwo EX, and it has the best matchup against the other Pikachu decks that you might be going up against. I think it just by far has the most upside. One thing you'll see in some of the decks that I've shown here is that people are running Pincurchin, and I actually think Pincurchin is low-key really good. For 2 energies on a basic Pokemon, only 70 HP, the attack only does 30 damage, but you flip a coin, and if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is paralyzed. So in scenarios where in Pokemon TCG Pocket, the games are really short, right? They really only come down to like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 turns or whatever, right? And being able to buy yourself one extra turn is sometimes the difference between winning or losing a game. And yes, it comes down to a coin flip. It's a 50-50 chance, but if one extra turn is going to win you the game, you'd rather have a 50% chance of winning than a 0% chance, right? And Pincurchin actually allows you to do that in a pretty fun way. So there's actually been a lot of scenarios where Pincurchins come in handy and actually won me games. So I do think that it's a good option. And this totals up to, what is this? 7 total Pokemon in your deck that you can have on your bench. And this, again, it's just going to add a little bit more consistency. I think having that Pincurchin is probably, again, more of an upside than running a second Giovanni or even a second Sabrina or a second Potion in some scenarios. But you could cut Pincurchin for a second Sabrina or a second Potion if you really didn't want to run it. But yeah, overall, that's just my opinion, guys. I've looked at the data. I looked at sort of the win rates on all of the online tournaments on Play.Limitless. Link will be down in the description below if you're looking to play in an online tournament. But overall, yeah, the Raichu variant has the best matchup against Mewtwo, and it has the best matchup against all of the other Pikachu decks, at least from the data that I've seen from, you know, all of these large online tournaments that have been going on for the last few weeks. So yeah, that's my opinion. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think. I really do believe Raichu is the best option. I think it just has the most upside. Yes, you might be sacrificing a small bit of consistency from your Pikachu deck, but the thing is, Pikachu is literally the most consistent deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket, so you have some... you're basically able to sacrifice a little bit of that consistency for the amount of reach that Raichu allows you to have in getting those big KOs to win the game. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been Matty T. Don't forget to comment down below. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to stay tuned for more Pokemon TCG Pocket videos that I'll be doing in the future. It means a lot to me, guys. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.